welcome to Kaylee Daily, the podcast about doula tips and tits. It is a weekly podcast, but my name is not Keekly, so I named it Kaylee Daily. I'm Kaylee Harad, your host, and also doula, childbirth educator, creator of the Birth Prep Blueprint, which is holistic, comprehensive childbirth education and postpartum education and feeding, and even a whole module for partners to have the support that they need as well. So I have 3 kiddos of my own, the oldest of whom is 11. So I've been at this gig for a bit now, and I am married to my best friend for almost 12 years. It's crazy, right? This podcast is about all things birth, fertility, postpartum, etc. So every time you listen to an episode or watch an episode, depending on where you are getting this from, you will hear a question answered about generally the childbearing time in life, okay? Now, I have a ton of questions from clients and students, etc. I've helped hundreds of families navigate this time, so I already have a good long list of questions, but if you have a particular question, I would love to hear from you. I would love to answer your question specifically. You're welcome to send me a quick message on Instagram or drop a comment below if you're on a platform that allows you to do that. So also, I would love for you to subscribe so that you hear of the coming episodes that are coming out soon. So today's question is, do I need a birth plan? And the answer is yes. So that's it. That's the whole episode. Thanks. Just kidding. So let me dive into this a little bit more. So because the answer to do I need a birth plan is just yes, then the question I want to dive into instead of that is, why do you need a birth plan? Why is a birth plan important? Okay. Now, I don't have time in one episode to dive into what to put into a birth plan or how to write it exactly or any of that kind of detail. That is something that I cover specifically in my birth prep class. So if you sign up for that, then you're going to learn all of those juicy details. And also I will dive into a little bit more of that in future episodes. So stay tuned. Again, subscribe. So why do you need a birth plan? What is a birth plan meant to be? Okay. So first, let me start with what it is not. It is not meant to be a demand list for the birth team, right? It's not meant to be everything that you are against in the hospital. It's not meant to be a contract that you absolutely cannot deviate from, right? I think birth plans sometimes get a bad rap because they are seen as something that you only use if you're totally against the things that the hospital is going to do. And I want to just kind of flip that around a little bit, because I think one of the main benefits of a birth plan gets completely left out in that dialogue. And in my mind, one of the main benefits is the education that goes into writing the birth plan itself. So the educational piece is huge. It's a huge component of it. One of the things that you're doing as you prepare to write your birth plan is learning about the various options that you have, right? You can't write a birth plan if you don't know what your choices are. You can't state what your choices and your desires are if you don't know what the options are that you could possibly choose. So going through those things and weighing the risks and benefits of them, that is where the magic is in writing a birth plan, right? So that educational piece preemptively before you're in labor is so incredibly helpful to make decisions as you go through labor, because you don't know what things are going to come up during labor. So if you've already thought through what would your decision be about if your labor stalled out, right? If your labor kind of starts to plateau a little bit and contractions get more mild, how do you want to handle that? What are your first and second and third choices in terms of actions around that? Now, of course, your birth team or your provider might have some suggestions or some demands even, but if you've already thought through it ahead of time, then in the midst of labor, in that super emotional and maybe exhausting space, You're not trying to make those decisions moment by moment, like in between contractions, right? The other thing is that you can think through possible outcomes in a more rational way before you're in the midst of it. So one of the things that I have clients and students do is write out a section on what their preferences are in the case of a cesarean, even if they're planning a vaginal delivery. The reason I do that is that a switch from vaginal to cesarean is already a very emotional switch if it's not what you were wanting or expecting, right? So the best thing in that scenario is to already have thought through what are some of the things that really matter to you. Maybe it's skin to skin time. Maybe it's breastfeeding. Maybe it's that your partner stays with the baby at all costs, no matter what's going on, right? But if you've already thought that through, then you can have some autonomy in the moment of the birth changing from a vaginal delivery to a cesarean. You can then ask the birth team, is it possible? Is it safe to still do skin to skin time? That is very important to me. It's one of the things I was really looking forward to in a vaginal delivery, right? Can I still do that in a C-section? Is that going to be possible in this scenario? And you can have some of that dialogue, and that actually results in you having more satisfaction in how your birth played out. There's a lot of power in being the decision maker as you go through the process of labor, okay? So having a birth plan helps you communicate your decisions to the birth team when you're in the middle of contractions. You are essentially saying, like, I've weighed a lot of risks and benefits in these things. These are my preferences. This is my first desire, right? If possible, is these things. But it doesn't mean you're coming in demanding things of people and telling them absolutely don't do this and absolutely do that. That's not what a birth plan primarily is, okay? Also, if you're at a facility that requires that kind of demand, maybe consider switching, because you shouldn't go into a birth planning to fight with people about what you want, right? So that is all for this, but we will dive into some of these other bits and pieces of birth planning in the future. Also, of course, check out my Birth Prep Blueprint class that goes into great detail about options and choices and birth planning. And if you want to chat with me about it, you can book a call to chat about it. The link for that will be below. And then, of course, still subscribe, because there are lots of juicy episodes to come, and I would love to make sure that you do not miss any of them, okay? So I will see you on the next episode, and I wish you happy, well-informed birthing in the meantime.